No more clickbait, no more sound bites, and no more videos that are over before you blink. No more being told to click this or to share that because some people think you can't think. Choose a new way of doing things. Choose real people. Choose real stories. Choose the Real Talks podcast. Having spent the large majority of 2016 in New York City, Jamie Clarke is back in Ireland and once again strutting his stuff in an Armagh jersey. Renowned for his individual style on the pitch, Jamie is one of the most talented forwards and interesting personalities the modern game has produced. Over the course of the hour, we chat about the positive impact that travelling has had on his life and his outlook, the importance of being authentic and not submitting to stereotypes, and how now, at 27 years of age, Jamie felt a magnetic pull that lured him home from America because ultimately he wants to help leave Armagh football in a better place. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it online, chat with your friends, or throw it into WhatsApp groups. The Real Talks podcast is a new show that is all about highlighting how GA players are far more than just footballers and hurlers, and I really appreciate anyone who helps us to spread the word. This podcast is brought to you thanks to the support of Kelly Bradshaw Dalton, who for over 20 years have been successfully selling, renting and managing property in the Greater Dublin area. You can check out their website at kbd.ie, that's kbd.ie, for all your property needs. My name is Alan O'Mara, and you are listening to the 4th episode of the Real Talks podcast.
It's getting tempestuous. Played in quickly here towards Jamie Clarke. He can turn so quickly. Clarke scores his first chance in the match, and that quality shone through. An exquisite finish.
Yourself is someone I've looked on at over the years, but as a footballer and as a person who I've absolutely respected in terms of your individuality and your mindset at times. You first came on to my radar and it was 2009 Ulster under 21 quarter final. You scored 1-6 on me, so that was when you flagged. But I suppose I've been keeping an eye on you since. And what I really wanted to start off today with was the decision to go away to New York last year, and just maybe to talk a little bit about that and sort of what took you there first and foremost, and what that experience was like.
Yeah, I suppose, looking back on it now, I think as a kid, going abroad, something I did probably regularly with the family and stuff. And I suppose a lot of my friends and social circles that I was in, I had people going up to university in England and Spain and stuff like that. So seeing their kind of, their outlook on things and how happy they were away, I was a little bit envious of that. And I suppose it was just something that I wanted to do. So I kind of went in smaller breaks when I got the opportunity with football, and got a taste for it, and always, wondered what would it be like, just to get away for a while and try and live without it. Is it possible for starters? And again, like, obviously the world is a big place, and I suppose, the whole idea of living in New York and that sentimental aspect of it growing up, and it was something that I wanted to do and wanted to try. And look, at the time, it was a really difficult decision, because obviously the love for football's there, and I suppose it's the one thing in life that whatever I want to do, it's always going to hold me back.
So how long were you in New York for?
Well, I've been going back and forward,
Okay.
3 or 4 summers, 3-month periods, and I was kind of getting tired of that, because I was thinking I'm not an official New Yorker here, and applied for the relevant visa, and got my social security number, got me New York state ID, and really felt at home then. And I was targeting a certain period of over 6 months, to really blend in, and obviously time over there flies. Mm-hmm. But listen, it was a brilliant experience, and so time away was great. And again, it kind of brought back that hunger and the realisation of what I really wanted.
Yes, so sort of stepping outside of Ireland for a little while put different things into perspective, was it?
Exactly. obviously there is the whole idea of going away. And again, I could have went to Melbourne, I could have went to New York and set up a life there where I would have been happy and content, to any other person. But I think when you're part of that GAA circle and you have a mindset that, I want to be successful at football and this is what I do, then it's always going to pull at you. And, ultimately it got me in the end,
Yeah, I'll come back to I will come back to the football and touch upon that decision to come back and how that's been. But sort of just sticking to being out there.
Yeah.
What was day to day life like out there? What were you up to, or what actually had you there? What were you doing?
Yeah, so I went through the Ireland Institute of Pittsburgh. I used my background, which is marketing, and look, it was a chance, an opportunity I got. I met a friend out there who owns a number of bars out there, and he was based in Manhattan, which was ideal for me, and big GA man as well, and it was great to get involved with him, and obviously he showed me the ropes in terms of how his business worked and his business model and stuff like that. So the people I met and were introduced out there were unbelievable, you know what I mean? Like, it's in terms of networking,
Sure.
There's nothing like it. I've met people in the fashion industry and the coffee industry, and and it was great to bounce around and get ideas of different people and just how got an insight into their day-to-day lives. And again, I was kind of taking what I've learned off them back and try to put it in context for myself. And is this what I want? This is what it could be. This is what it would be like. And again, I was trying to find myself, and I thought New York was the place to do that.
You say learning off other people, and I suppose the first question I have is, these people that you're meeting and networking with, are they New Yorkers? Are they Irish American? Are you getting outside the GA bubble, or
no, it's definitely outside the GA bubble. Yeah, it was like there was times where I was really outside my comfort zone. I was meeting people in the fashion industry that had wealth of experience, that were dealing with big celebrities on a daily basis and stuff like that.
What's that like?
It was weird initially, but it's funny when you actually meet the people themselves, that they're actually pretty much down to earth, and they're their own people, and they're just a normal people. I think the thing about New York is that the more you're there, the more you kind of forget about that whole, the where you are, the whole celebrity status, the movies. You see different things happening all the time, and when you're there, that you have to get to work in time. You kind of get frustrated. It's just like anywhere else when you fit in, But yeah, people, like, I met a lot of people from Ireland that have moved abroad and have settled in New York and are loving life over there and have been really successful. And again, they've shared their experiences with me, and they're always keen. I think the good thing about Irish people is they're always keen to help you out. Particularly over there, and they want to share their experiences and try and nearly persuade you to, to give it a real go and stuff like that. But, I think ultimately as well, they do have your best interests at heart. And speaking to close friends out there, they knew that something wasn't right with me. And look, they would put it to me like, you can go home, do your thing, and this place will always be here for you if you ever want to come back. So, it was nice to meet people like that along the way.
Yeah, the people, like, obviously different environments, different culture. You mentioned about sort of looking to find yourself a little bit. The obvious question is, did being over there help you do? Did you get what you wanted from that trip?
Yeah, of course. And I think it can come across wrong at times. I think, again, I just wanted to be honest with myself. When you say to somebody, I'm trying to find myself or whatever, people, take it the wrong way. I think this guy could be a little lost here or whatever. But again, ultimately, it's just being honest. I think there's way too many people that are doing things that they don't want to do just because it's a social norm and it's what's seen as acceptable. And I'm very much not that person. So again, for me personally, it took a lot of courage to do what I did, particularly in the likes of cross and the club and stuff.
Yes.
That, where it can be frowned upon. The media, obviously, up north, or can tend to follow your life story. So You know, it was difficult in that regard, particularly for family and stuff like that, because I would be a worrier at times, and you know, it can be annoying, but I suppose like once you get away, you actually realise that, you know, when you go to speak to people over there, that they don't even know what's going on. So, you know, it is different, you know.
Yeah, it's like I've only been to New York a little bit. I suppose the reason I was asking that question is I spent 3 months in San Francisco a couple of years ago, and I would have used a similar sentence. I was sort of going to find myself, or not even find myself, just sort of.
You want to experience,
just something different, exactly. And I suppose just get out of your comfort zone. Really, was a little bit for me. But actually, even though you're over there and you're doing all these things and you're getting in those different circles, your sort of your desire or your urge to play sports still kicks in over there, doesn't it? You're playing a bit over there.
Yeah, I was actually playing a lot of soccer.
Yeah.
You know, again, it would have been love growing up. Would have played a lot of street soccer and played for Dundalk for a bit, and obviously with the Gaelic couldn't really play both. So I suppose it was a chance to, you know, give it a lash, and really enjoyed it over there. Met people from all around the world, and you know, I met one of their midfielders played in Paul Scholes' testimonial in Old Trafford.
Right.
I had their centre half was the captain of Port Vale. Played in the FA Cup. So we had a real good team, and the standard was quite high. So it was a great experience meeting new people, but still there was that, you know, that drive because you're part of that sports circle, and you know, it did keep me fit as well, which is another plus. So loved it, and still loved you know, the soccer as well.
I didn't know that you played a good bit when you were younger, because I remember seeing that there was a story did the rounds at one stage that you were playing New York Red Bulls, I think, was it?
Yeah.
Where did that come out of?
I think that came from the fact that Kevin Grogan, who was our coach, he was on the United's books when he was younger, and you know, had a bad injury and obviously ruled him out, but he has great contacts over there, and he works a lot with David Villa in terms of his soccer schools and stuff, and Kevin has been known to put people through, take them up to the next level before, and you know, the option was there for me. He mentioned it to me before I went home, if you want to have a go at the next level, it's there for you if you want it. And deep down, I was just honest with him. I said deep down that, you know, I don't love it. I don't think I love it enough as I love Gaelic. So I want to be back playing on the big stage at home, you know. Yeah,
that decision. So before I go to the decision to come home, you mentioned earlier on around the travelling aspect, and sometimes squeezing bits of travel in within seasons, and when you could.
Yeah,
I'd imagine that was obviously really difficult when your club situation is prolonged more often than not across, and then it rolls straight, like by the time cross finish up, National League has already started. But so it obviously takes conviction and courage to call your periods in between and say, listen, I'm going away. So it's just actually wondering, where else have you been to, or sort of what other spots in the world have you took in at times?
I've done the whole South American thing. That was kind of a backpacking interrailing stint. I've done Australia and Canada, and I suppose again there were periods where I was actually maximising my profile in terms of Gaelic, and you know, again, it was providing opportunities, and but I think ultimately Paris probably and Europe are, I've noticed from being around different continents that are my favourite places.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether it's the culture and the historical aspects of it and the people in general, but I just seem to fit in that a little bit better.
Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
So have you spent decent chunks of time there then?
Yeah, I have friends over there who I met in New York. I was living with them in Brooklyn for a while, and we're keeping close contact on a daily basis, and I suppose now it's great for me whenever I get a chance that it's only an hour on a flight. Again, it's not. I don't see it as a big trip of such, and whenever I get a chance, I'll shoot over there. You know.
What is it about Paris that lures you in?
I guess it's a number of things. I think probably initially it goes back to the likes of Zinedine Zidane and those type of footballers, and Thierry Henry, and their kind of class and charisma. And then again the whole fashion aspect of it, and I just think it's a cool place.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history to it. You know, it never really changes that much when you go over. And again, it's just a place that I love, and it's difficult to put a finger on exactly what it is, but it's the simple things that I love from it. You know, just even the way they do things, like the way they can sit and have a coffee. It's their mannerisms and stuff like that.
Just their the actual day-to-day lives.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because I would have, like I mentioned San Francisco earlier on as well. That was the first time probably I felt I was walking around the city, and I just felt it. I just was like, I like being here. Yeah, like I intend to go back there at some stage, and it's like there's no grand plan around, but it's more of a feeling, I think, or just like
sure,
I actually feel this is, I don't know, I feel like I fit in, or I feel like I belong here. I think I was just thinking there, so like you've been like Paris and New York, obviously two big cities with lots of history and tradition. You're back in Dublin at the moment. How do those three cities compare, I suppose, or it's a very broad question. Or even been back in Dublin, how does Dublin compare to those other places? Or
it's funny. Before I went, I was probably a little bit close-minded on Dublin. And again, coming back, I've just made it. You know, said to myself, I'm coming back here with an open mind, and I would keep a diary and just jotting different things down about what I want to get from it for myself. And you know, again, everything is what you make of it for yourself. And in terms of a city and its diversity, Dublin's second to none. And you know, again, I'm in a better place than I was going away. And again, going away, I don't regret it, even though I missed a year with Armagh. I don't regret going away because, again, I'm personally in a better place. You know, I'm coming back. I'm hungry to play football again, and I'm living in one of the major cities of Europe. So again, I can't complain. And again, I'm just really looking forward to, you know, getting stuck into the city itself.
yeah, I was going to ask you obviously about the decision to come home. And I think you've already touched upon it once or twice around sort of if it's that draw or a passion for football, sort of, even if you're away, it's obviously still lurking and unknown in the background somewhere. And was that one of the fundamental reasons for coming back?
It was the only reason.
Really?
Yeah. Football. I think if I didn't play Gaelic and Ireland, I probably wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, again, it is the whole idea of playing football, and I think in the past I was very much, you know, drawn to actually just constantly winning. It's all about winning, but I think ultimately now that all you can do is give your best. I know that, and I'll train as hard as I can, I'll play as best I can, and you know, ultimately it's about leaving Armagh in a better place. You know, if it happens, if you know, we win an All-Ireland, it happens. If it doesn't, then the next generation do, then, you know, well and good. But I think, you know, it's important to leave ego out of it. And I think everyone has their ego, and it can...
Of course you do.
You know, and it is difficult to leave that out of it. And you want to be, you know, you want to be in Croke Park week after week come August and September. And, you know, but ultimately it's about leaving Armagh in the right place, you know.
So when you're away and you're thinking about football, and obviously because it's a decision to come home, what are the things that you miss the most when you're weighing up, will I go back, will I not? What are the things that you say, I miss that and I want to go back for that?
I suppose for me it was there were a few different things, you know. It was even just the whole idea of training. Like there are aspects where I thought I didn't like.
Like what?
Like driving to training and warm-ups and things like that, and it's actually that was the kind of stuff that I loved and missed, you know.
Really?
And being around my teammates, and you know, I don't take any of it for granted now, which is great. But bus journeys like down south to play a league game, like I love being a part of that, and those were the little things that, you know, probably I thought irritated me, but it was obviously something bigger than that, you know. But again, it's just that stability, I suppose, of looking after yourself, your diet. You know, again, I suppose when you're here, you're a leader, and you have I suppose as a county player, you have a role to play in terms of kids and in terms of your community and what you bring to it. And you know, I think ultimately people do look up to you, and you know, it's important that as a you know, a county player, that you recognise that, and you can offer something to people, that they can take from it, and I felt that was a big part of it as well.
And does that idea or that notion of being able to leave a positive legacy for Armagh or for yourself or for your community, is that something that lures you back in? Does that appeal to you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Again, like I said, as a kid, you obviously you have your bigger ego when you come onto the Haven under 21. You're a young guy running about playing for your county and
scoring 1-6 on me.
You can easily get caught up in the hype and stuff, and I know it does pass you by pretty quick. But look, when I retire, it's all about, for me, it's all about the legacy, and and I want to be remembered probably by that guy gave it all for, when he was on the field, he gave it all for Armagh, and we brought along some young guys with him, and he helped the team. So basically that's what you want.
What age are you now?
I'm 27.
27. So I to be straight out with it, like that's when you're sort of approaching towards those late 20s, getting close to the 30 marker. Do you feel the time window starting to close on your opportunity to do that as well?
Surprisingly not, because I've kept my mind open about it. To me, I still feel as young as I've felt. Again, I'm not targeting 30, 31. That's one times. Like, I don't see why, you can't have a longer, span depending on how you're playing, obviously. And if I still feel like I can perform at the top level, then and add something to the Armagh and Cross, then I'll keep playing, and until I'm a hindrance and no longer needed or whatever, then I think that's when I'll call it a day.
Yeah, one of the things when I was asking you around sort of the lifestyle and what drew you back, it seemed to be that the actual lifestyle, the day-to-day things that you got to do, the structure of it, does that appeal to you at the stage of life that you're at now?
Yeah, because when you do go away, you do have your fun, you do things that probably you would never have got a chance to do because of Gaelic. And again, I think it's good to get that out of the system, so you've done it, you know what it's about, and there's no regret there with that, you know what I mean, because you have experienced it. But again, it's coming back. People actually, again, like I said, people look up to what you do. The fact that you can go to your day job, eat your whatever you eat, you know what I mean? Like you notice people looking at you, what you're eating, the amount of water you're drinking, and again, you're a role model to people, and you probably don't even recognise it. But again, it is that whole, lifestyle of being an elite athlete, I suppose, if you like to call it.
Yeah, like I think one of the big things that's come across the previous conversations that we've had on the podcast is that elite athlete or that lifestyle brings a huge amount of positives, and does enhance your life off the field as well. Because there is definitely learnings and lessons that cross over and that do enhance you. I suppose one of the questions I was thinking of there is, so there's Jamie Clarke the footballer, and you're looking at that and you're thinking you want more and you want to make an impact, but also acutely aware there's Jamie Clarke the person too, who's got different interests away from football. How do you feel about that relationship now in terms of the balance? Is that something you're aware of and trying to manage, or?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I see it as a positive. Like I would have been fully focused on the football aspect of it, up until now. Still am extremely focused, of course, and love the whole idea of being an elite athlete. And anybody that I suppose calls us, I know by name it's an amateur sport, but anybody that calls, would call me an amateur, I would take it as an insult. Because I don't live like an amateur, you know what I mean? I don't think I play or perform like an amateur. So, but yeah, I guess there is that balance now that I suppose it comes with, putting bread on the table, and again, I suppose it's about maximising the Gaelic and work life, and even trying to put the two together and try and get the best out of myself, on and off the pitch.
Yeah, around other passions, because you mentioned fashion once or twice earlier when you were talking, and obviously the culture dynamic as well is of interest to you. Might just explore that a bit more, where that comes from, or are you still passionate about it?
Yeah, for sure. I suppose the whole coffee fashion, there's that the whole concept of that whole lifestyle brand thing. It's still, you know, I'm still really passionate about it. And again, I suppose when I was away, you know, I'm taking bits and pieces from everywhere, and you know, it's just a huge interest I have, and I know I would be a keen follower of it, particularly the fashion. And you know, again, I've friends in Paris who are who work in fashion, and you know, it's great that when you're over there, I'm getting introduced to the people in that industry. And you know, obviously I'm getting closer to Paul Galvin here, who's done, you know, I think he's done unbelievably well. And you know, again, it's people like that you know, I kind of look up to, and that actually break the mold and do what they believe in, and do what, you know, despite what people say, and you know, they take the criticism and, you know, put it to one side and continue to do their thing, and you know, and are very successful at it. So again, look, it's something that, you know, I am keeping in mind. Again, I'm still only 27, and I don't want to juggle too many things at the moment, because I don't think it's possible to give your best at if you've too many irons in the fire, you know. But again, it's something that I'll keep on the table, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that point, because one of the things that I certainly wanted to do through the podcast was challenge certain stereotypes. And really what the whole thing for me is about is showing that, you know, lads play football and they play hurling, but there's also a lot more going on, and it's okay to be interested in different things too. That's certainly, when lads, like you're 27 now and I'm 26, and you get that little bit further on down the line, you think, okay, it's okay to, like, I can be interested in whatever I want now. And sometimes, particularly younger players, I think, just fall into the stereotypes a little bit. So it's a really good point I think you made.
Well, I think if you look at, like, there's the amount of people that have actually reached out to me, even through whether it's fashion, coffee, traveling, you know, that you could tell that they were scared before to actually, you know, even if it's putting up a picture, they were actually afraid to do it. And I found that, like, what's the problem, you know what I mean? And it is just is their social circles and that whole stereotype of being macho and that Gaelic footballer. Like, it's, you know, it's...
Do you find, like, because this would have been something I've thought about a lot, like, do you find that unusual, like, in a world of like social media, where people are constantly putting this out and that out and perception of themselves, that, but there's a lot of, like, there's certain people that are actually struggling to be true to themselves and express themselves. Do you ever think about that, or?
Yeah, of course. But like I was saying there are people that, you know, it's particularly young people that, you know, are, you can tell, are really interested in a certain aspect of, whether it's, like I said, whether it's coffee or fashion, but they're holding back a bit from themselves, because, you know what I mean, because of that social status and because of who they're expected to be. And again, I think they're breaking out of the mold more and more, and I think that just comes with society moving on. But the likes of yourself, Paul Galvin, that help those people do that. And, you know, that's why it's great, you know, to step away from your comfort zone and experience these things, you know.
No, it's brilliant. Like, it's something I feel passionate about. That one of the concepts that always stuck with me was that idea of wearing a mask. So, like, when you go into football training, you have to be this certain guy in a certain dressing room. And I love just hearing stories of different people going, actually, like, just moved off that, because there's loads of more people out there that want to be interested in different things. And I'm still curious as to what draws you into fashion a little bit. I know Paul has done really good work in that area. Is that an area you see yourself pursuing down the line?
Potentially, yeah. I think for myself, it's, I don't know, I just always had that natural kind of, I don't want to be kind of egotistical about it, but it just seemed to come naturally to me. I don't know whether, you know, the whole, I had an eye for, if you like to say, and I enjoy that aspect of things. And I suppose it's an area where, you know, it's the markets, it's people are becoming more and more interested in how they dress, and becoming more open to it, because of, like, back in the day, men wouldn't be seen to be, you know, into that area. And again, it comes with society, I suppose. But again, it's just a natural interest, I suppose, I have for it.
Yeah, and the coffee one the coffee you mentioned there a few times as well. Like the coffee scene, particularly in Dublin here, it's just exploded in the last few years. And it's like it's bordering on becoming mainstream now. I think, whereas probably a year or two ago,
I think for like the likes of myself, I find that quite frustrating.
That's why I'm asking it. Yeah,
your little niche kind of thing on the side and stuff like that. But like you go to a quiet coffee shop, or what you thought was a quiet coffee shop now, and there can be a queue out the door. Like you'll go to read a book, but you'll obviously have to pick somewhere else because there's a queue out the door. But yeah, I suppose it was that just little thing away from football on the side that I would have been interested in. And look, it's a growing market, but again, like I said, it's probably something that I had an eye for. I always see these things kind of taking off, and again, there is that link to the whole coffee and fashion, and I did go through that hipster phase for a while, but that was at college, but again, it's just, I suppose, just continuing on.
You mentioned about going into a coffee shop there with a book, to read a book, whatever. Is that something you value, like in terms of balancing your own lifestyle, if it's work and sport, and having a little escape here and there, or you time, whatever you want to call it? Is that something you would?
Yeah, for sure.
You do.
Yeah, because I think nowadays, even in that sporting environment, you can always get caught up in your phone, whether you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, checking all the time, for news and stuff like that. So, I do value, my friend circles and stuff. Like, obviously I live with Kevin Dias up here in Dublin, and we go out of our way, to get out and actually have, whether it's have a coffee in town or whatever, and just to have a chat, and,
just zone out,
or just go away to a park or something and kick about, because it's taking all that in, and it's we don't want to leave that behind as opposed to just laying on the couch on our phones. So it is good to get out, and again, it refreshes things, and
definitely,
and it freshens your brain up as well.
You mentioned if you were bringing a book in with you, what would be on your reading list? What sort of stuff would you go with?
It depends. Obviously, Enda McNulty's book at the minute. I suppose there's always one I would always read different things. I would.
But would you stay in the sports genre, or would you?
No, not really, not at all.
Skip out.
I would have those type of books for sport. Personally, for myself, I like to read different types of literature, like classic. I love Ernest Hemingway. Yeah. So just different books like that. Fiction as well, and again, I suppose it's something that I want to learn, that I probably didn't learn enough of at school or whatever, is that even Irish history and history in general and the classics, Samuel Beckett and things like that. So it's I want to get interested and try and learn as much as I can about that as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like this constant strand that's come up with the lads previously is around that balance piece, and I think it's something that, like, there's no right or wrong, there's no set way. Like, no one can give you 3 bullet points and say, there you go, you'll be grand, exactly, you have the balance. But bringing it back then, I suppose, to the footballing aspect, like, you're someone as a young guy, you burst onto the scene in 2010, was it at senior level? Was that your debut?
For Armagh,
yeah. And obviously you'd had the club. You'd been in a good spell with Cross. You're on the radar with the 21 team. Does sort of arriving on the senior scene like that with a goal in your first game, and I think first start and was followed up with 2 goals against Donegal.
Yeah.
Does that bring a lot of expectation on you as a young man? Like, what age are you at that stage? 20 maybe?
Yeah, still 20. I just turned 20. Not really. I kind of think I embraced it. Because I had broken into the senior team with Cross as well the year before, and we had won Ulster and got to an All-Ireland club final, played in Ulster under-21 final, and I had experience as well, so it didn't feel like an overly big step up. The game was still quite open back then, you know what I mean? So it was, I suppose there were obviously mistakes that I was making as a young Darowood, and I was trying different things, and it was kind of a free spirit really going into it. And I had Stephen, I was playing alongside Steve McDonald the County Nosham Conville across.
Okay.
So I was,
You're in good hands.
yeah,
well
I was,
there.
and I was in my element as well. And
Okay.
again, even at that age, I suppose I was still trying to be the main man, like, you know. Whether we'd get a penalty with Cross or Armagh, Oisin and Steve would step up, whereas I'd get wicked. Thinking, it should be me hitting this, you know. So,
Right.
and again, I suppose it was just a drive I had from a young age, and I kind of believe that I can be the best at the top level, and I was confident enough to take that burden, you know.
I love the term you used there, free spirit, like, because I think they think about sport. For me, that's sort of what sport was invented for.
Yeah.
Was to be a place to go and express yourself and to be that free spirit.
Exactly, yeah.
And you obviously took great joy from that, especially in your younger days, did you?
Yeah, I think you could get away with it a lot more. You know, you could afford to kick the ball wide now. There was no, or back in the day, like now there's stats on everything, and which I love because it betters you as a player. But yeah, it just, again, I think it came with being such a young person that you're going out doing things and we're trying things, and you could get away with it now, and obviously play more of a leadership role, and want to make sure that I set the right example. I still would encourage a lot of the younger players that come in to still, you know, don't be afraid to have a go or try things, and obviously we stick to the game plan and stick to our system, but if the opportunity arises, you know, do your thing and, you know, stick to what you've learned as a young person. So I would still encourage that in a way, you know.
When you make the breakthrough with that at 20, like growing up, obviously as a big fan, like Oisin and Stephen had obviously been big heroes or big role models of yours, were they?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the O2 final, I think most Armagh kids and supporters around that age were always looked up to, particularly those two guys as the main scoring forwards. Listen, it was a great experience. Like, they passed on their knowledge to me, you know, and I think the big thing for me was that I still felt my own man, even at that age. I still felt that I brought something unique to the game that maybe it hadn't been seen before or whatever, that obviously they had their own style. I wanted to have my own style. I didn't want to be classed as, you know, the next such and such or whatever. So again, it's I suppose most players are like that as well, you know.
Would it be fair to say that you have a particular eye for goals, and that was something that would you have emphasised or focused on that in your career?
Yeah, I think there were in the early stages of my career when I was getting goals. I think a lot of them weren't goal chances that would generally happen within a game, you know. So you're told to take points, and you know what I mean. That whole
play the percentage and stuff.
Exactly, and if you look at Kevin McMahon, it's the same. Like, he has an eye for goal. Like, people don't realise that you still have confidence in your own ability. Like, I would have confidence in my ability to get the ball, and you can see things happening within that moment that, you know, you can see whether it's a runner taking someone away, whether it's a 1-2 getting the ball back, whatever, that you can see a goal opportunity out of something that people probably don't see. And again, obviously goals are vital, and
sure,
you know, if you get 2-2 in a game, whatever, then, you know, they can definitely sway it, you know. So that's why I still think goals are a big part of the game, you know.
Yeah, I ask you about it because, like, as a goalkeeper, like, I feel a lot of the time with players at the moment, like, the actual knack or skill, if you talked about, is creating the goal chance.
Yeah,
is almost leaving the game, and it's lads are sort of told that if the goal chance comes to you, take it.
Yeah.
As in that one that slapped across the goal, or like you mentioned Kevin there, the goal he scored recently again. It was common, like, you know, like most coaches would say, like, recycle the ball, turn it, and you could just literally, as soon as he gets the ball, he's like, I'm on my bike. Like, there's a goal on here, and I just love that. It's that instinctive side of things.
He obviously senses that, like, Dublin are up by what the Roscommon guys are probably deflated, aren't expecting. You know, I'm probably expecting him to recycle the ball, and you know, again, it's just that kind of ruthlessness that probably gets him in there in the first place, you know.
Do you think that sort of that skill or that ability to maybe create a chance rather than, as I said, waiting for it to come to, does it add to the game? Do you think it makes it a better game to watch?
Sure, yeah, and I think even the way the game has moved defensively, that like a cutting edge pass looks better, and it is better now, which is I like that aspect of it, that a good pass is seen as, you know, a good attribute now. That
completely, like,
you know, whereas in the past, that the past couple of years it was a fist passing game, and you know, people were still afraid nearly to kick us against the blanket defence. Where this is becoming more and more.
It is. I think it is slowly evolving out of that. I suppose, going back to, if the blanket defence is, like, as you're sort of if you're edging into your 20s, you're on the Armagh team more and more. You're obviously becoming more recognised, and with that comes more targeting.
Exactly. Yeah.
How, just from a forward perspective, and as like particularly in the full forward line, how do you cope or navigate that? Because I'd imagine it's frustrating at times.
Yeah, again, there's a learning curve that comes with it. I was getting frustrated, you know, just in terms of not getting as much ball. Whether that's, like I said, like the whole ego thing, that you have to obviously accept that what's best for the team here. Whether if I take 2-3 players out to the wing, then
just space for someone else.
Exactly. So it was accepting that, I think, initially.
Is that hard to accept?
Initially it was, but again, I feel like I've got fitter. You know, I've been working on my strength and you know, even stamina at the moment as well. So I think, you know, I've been working on my movement and you know, trying to prolong that for a longer period of time during a game. And obviously there comes a challenge, and I love that. You know, I'm glad it's not all easy, because I probably would get bored of it, you know. But again, it was a challenge for me, and there were times where I was, you know, I could blame the ref. Why is he giving me fouls against me and it's not even too long, you know what I mean? And there are different aspects where you do get frustrated, but again, I think I've slowly grown out of that, and again, there will be times in the future, and it's about dealing with that, and I think I'm better equipped to deal with those situations now, you know.
Yeah, like you mentioned there around looking to improve your stamina and looking to improve your strength. Is that something that maybe your head's come around to more in recent years? Would you, like, when you were younger, would you have looked at or relied on that sort of that talent or that natural ability to try and navigate problems a little bit more?
Because I was getting away with it. Yeah. I think I was getting away with it early on, and I had good balance. Always had good balance, so I was using my balance. You know, I was like, for example, if somebody hit me a shoulder, I would use my balance to go the opposite direction. And again, it's obviously I still use that, and I still wouldn't want to lose that. But again, it's just, I think it's just accepting that I will be better by doing different things and improving in different areas of my game, because I think, you know, skill level, it's like if you keep working on your skill level and doing the same thing over and over again, then you're going to get the same results. Yeah. So it's just improving on different aspects of my game that I needed to work on, and you know, we'll continue to just try and be as best I can be.
Yeah, because we played you a couple of years ago in Championship. It was what year was it in? It was
in Armagh.
2013. We played you, and like been blunt and straight about it. Like, our game plan was a sweeper, and the sweeper was going to be staying within 10 yards of you for the entire game, right? So like, even though I look back and think of that now, so for us, like, we need to snuff you out. That's our job. Got to do that. So every Cavan fan on the ground doesn't care about what that looks like or how that happens. Exactly. Once that happens, I'd say every other neutral around the country wants to see the forward getting on the ball, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's just around that frustration piece. Do you think players and teams now are becoming smarter at navigating those sort of obstacles, I suppose, that are put in front of them in terms of inhibiting their attack?
Absolutely, you know, and again, I suppose it's about teams developing different strategies and different ideas of how to break down, you know, a defence. And like, you look at Dublin at the minute, the more players you have or that have quality and can, you know, demonstrate that in a big game, then there's just too many players to watch, and you know, there's too much to cope with, you know what I mean? And like if you try and stop Bernard Brogan and put the blanket in front of him, you have Paul Flynn and James Connolly coming running at you. So again, you know, for ourselves, it's trying to utilise our all of our players in different aspects, and you know, we're working very hard, and at the minute we're still very young, and you know, I suppose for ourselves getting back into Division 2, Division 1 will help us, and I suppose what stands to us at the minute is that people probably wouldn't see us as, you know, a big top 5 team at the minute, and I think that will stand to us because again, it's hungry to prove to people that, you know, that we are good enough, because, you know, Kieran always says it, which is true, that most players around the country are at the same level and can do the same things. It's just within that team environment that and that mental kind of strength, and, you know, that knowledge that you get, whether it's through your club or through the county you're in, that, you know, like, for example, everyone thinks Kerry are the greatest team in football, but just because of previous generations have
think
won.
they can kick past the ball better than everyone else because they're from Kerry, like,
and because they're wearing green and gold, you know. So again, it's just getting that, you know, getting out of that mental state and just focusing on yourself and your own job. That, you know, I think ultimately it's about getting in that position where, like for ourselves, if people are still dwelling probably on the O2 team, like it was nearly 20 years from that now. So again, the current group of players want to make their own history, but we know that we have to leave ego out of it and just continue to work hard and try and be as best we can be, you know.
And you're like, come back to yourself. You're all, like I said, we've talked about the decision to come home when you want to apply to football and really row in behind that and try and add to Armagh football.
Yeah.
And do you see it as the age profile you're at, the stage of life you're at, with maybe some perspective that you picked up from travelling? Do you see it a bit as your role to be a leader within that and help that transition that you've talked through there around if it's mental strength and those are skills like say Kieran would have been talking about?
Yeah, and again, for sure, like, and I don't think it necessarily means by talking shit all the time or whatever, because I'm not a big talker in the changing room, and I suppose it's the realisation that people do look up to you, and I suppose I didn't kind of realise that at an early age, and again,
do you see more of that now? Like,
I do, yeah, and I'll still not. Like I said, I'll still not like talk on about it, but again, I'm trying, I'm learning all the time as well myself, and I'm just trying to give the best advice that I have, really, and, you know, obviously I've learned from, you know, some great people, and again, trying to share different things like that with some of the younger boys and just try and help them as best I can, you know.
Yeah, I'll finish up with on the football side. I'll finish up with this question. Like, I suppose the perception of you, say, from, you know, we've talked about stereotypes and all that stuff already, will be of a very natural, sort of laid back, forward, old style. But one of the things I'm struck as you're talking through there is, and I may be wrong, and correct me if I am, you're a quite deep thinker about the game, are you?
For sure, that's I love the game. I'm passionate about it, and I definitely think that people can put you in a stereotype, like a bracket, if you like. I do probably come across a bit laid back, but again, I suppose it's that accepting that, you know, I'm not too worried about what other people think, to be honest.
Because the one that always jumps out is Mesut Ozil playing with Arsenal. Everyone says he's lazy and he doesn't run, basically. Yeah. But I remember reading one where there was actual GPS, and like his stats were in the highest 3 or 4 of both teams in the game, and so it's just that. Yeah, well, it's people's perceptions, but it's the thing I was more taken there by is actually the level of people around you, and are you more aware of the people around you now from the experience that you've been through? Yeah,
for sure, and like I would always try and surround myself with good people, and I really appreciate the fact that people do want to help me, and again, it's learning from those, and I'm just trying to show a lot of humility and try and give back what, you know, the opportunities that I've got. And again, I think it's just part of life and part of your role, and you know, part of my role was within the GAA circles, and what I can give back to younger people in particular coming through, because I know as a kid, this, like, it meant the world to me as a kid, and there are kids out there who the same rules apply to. And if one kid stays on, and wants to play for Armagh because of me, then that's a success.
Yeah, like been more aware of others and sort of been tuned into that. If it's emotional intelligence or if it's just empathy or compassion. And again, correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I think to have that skill set, it actually starts off by becoming self-aware first and foremost. And I'll go back to, do you feel the travelling aspect and if it was just last year taking a step away, does that heighten that understanding or that awareness of those traits, do you think?
For sure. And I think even the fact like you do make mistakes, because
who doesn't,
but you think you realise that when you strip back the whole Gaelic thing and you're just a normal person, and the fact that you go and do that and you work in an environment where you're not seen as an elite figure, then it really does hit home that
it's that grounding.
For sure. And it just makes you more appreciative of things. And I suppose you take a step back and you're in a situation where you're probably at the bottom of the ladder and you're looking at people that are at the top of the ladder and you're looking at their arrogance and it's just, you're thinking, geez, am I like that? Hope I'm not like that, and again I suppose it's that is probably the most valuable aspect you can take from everything.
With that in mind, I suppose, moving forward, what's the vision you have for yourself as an individual at the moment in terms of where you're at and where you're going? What does that picture look like in your mind?
I'm starting with the Bank of Ireland now. Next week. It's a big opportunity for me. I'm really excited with the venture. And
it's the digital marketing side, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's digital marketing. It's there will be a corporate side of it as well, and business development. I'm with great people in there. They've looked after me, in terms of getting into the bank. I'm really grateful for that. And again, it's something that I suppose the Gaelic has helped with as well, and there's no point hiding that, because it's again, it's, if I didn't play Gaelic, I would have more time to put effort into something else. And I think people forget that, where they're of the opinion that because he plays for whatever, he gets handy job, he gets all this or whatever. But ultimately we're committed 7 days a week and to a cause that that we care about, and we don't we're not going out to steal people's jobs or to hurt people's feelings. You know what I mean? So again, I suppose it was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. There's such a credible group, the Bank of Ireland, and obviously they have strong links to the GAA as well. And again, I'm going in there. I suppose with a new refound confidence, if you like, and again, I'm going to bring probably qualities that I've obtained from travelling, and I suppose now I'm 27, that the leadership skills that I've learned through football, and again, I just want to try and be as successful as I can and work as hard as I do on the pitch with the Bank of Ireland.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love. If it's if it's work or if it's travelling or if it's football, when you actually get to that stage where you start realising that they overlap in many ways, and that lessons from one walk of life can help you in the other one. And you just mentioned the word leadership, and it was something that we spoke to Brendan Maher in the second episode quite a bit around. What's your, just because I'm going to wrap up now in the next minutes, what's your take on leadership, or what's your understanding of a good leader?
Good leader, I suppose it's somebody, I suppose, for myself, and from what I've learned from people who I think are good leaders.
Who are they?
Well, I would look at the likes of Kieran McGeeney, for example, who's took a lot of criticism, but continues to do what he believes is right. He has his plan, he has his goals set out. He wants the best for everyone else. I suppose you're trying to put your ego aside as much as possible and doing what's right for the cause, and again, just working hard. I suppose not talking too much is another one too. I find that talk is cheap as well. So
sometimes it's just actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. And again, helping people in the right way. and just being a good person. I think ultimately on and off the pitch is a good leader, you know.
Oh, it's really interesting. Well, this is the last thing I'm going to finish up with. It's something that I've been doing with all the lads, so I don't know if you've been listening or if you've seen it, but basically what I've been doing is pulling two pictures together.
Right.
So obviously on your left is after your championship debut in 2010.
Yeah.
And the one on the right is you this season, far more recently. And the question I've just been putting to the lads, because we've touched upon it a few times, and sort of the lessons that you learn and sort of the different perspectives you take as you particularly grow up in a sporting environment, and you learn those lessons. But what's the big one that if you had to take one thing with you, or if you had to put it this way, if I put you in front of a classroom and said share a lesson with the kids there, what would it be for you?
In terms of the separation from both pictures, from
I suppose just from your journey from then to now, really. Because you strike me as someone who's a lot more comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah.
Again,
I suppose it's just being honest with yourself. Don't worry about making mistakes. Mistakes happen. You know, no matter how big the mistake is, that you know you can always rectify it, and you know people will always forget anyway. You know, so just again, as try and be as best you can be, and be as honest as you can to yourself. You know, and to your close friends that who do care for you and care for the people close to you. And I think ultimately that, you know, that'll stand by you, you know, in your future and for your life.
Yeah, just to add one more point on that one. Do you think the fear of making mistakes or being judged for doing something incorrectly, do you think that scares people off doing things that they want at times?
I do, yeah. I have seen it a lot. I think you see it on a day-to-day basis where people are probably, you know, sit in the comfort zone and don't come out of that shell. And I think, I suppose from personal experiences, is trying to realise things that you're capable of doing and learning things that you probably would have never thought you could have done. And I suppose, like, for example, I think that's where the whole Gaelic thing comes back, whereas like I'm proud of Jamie Clarke, the footballer, but I still think that I want to be Jamie Clarke to something else, and I still think I can offer more to that. And again, it's going to take time to learn, and again, I'm open about learning, and I'm happy to start wherever, you know, that may be. And again, it's just being open and being honest to yourself, and you know, and being humble, and as humble as possible, you know.
I think as conversations go, that's the perfect way to wrap things up. Like, again, as I said it already, just in terms of, I suppose, the different characters I've been fortunate enough to meet and have a conversation over the last couple of weeks. And I just want to thank you for your time today, for your input and honesty into that. Some very different outlook, and I'm sure people are listening, thinking about stuff that they thought about doing before that didn't. I always talk about the itch. Like, when you have an itch, and if it goes away after a week or two, let it go. But if it's still there after a couple of months, maybe you need to look at doing it. And there's just loads there around, if it's around leadership and being yourself. And just want to again just thank you for your honesty within that, and for your input. And I look forward to seeing you in action on the field during the season ahead. As a player, I wouldn't be too overly enthusiastic about it, but as a fan and someone watching the game, you're someone I've always loved watching. I love the freedom and abandon you play with at times, and I think our games will be much stronger for that. But also just to wish you the best of luck in your own personal life, and as you touched upon there, whatever that something is, and whatever you explore and go after, I've no doubt you'll be a success at it, and I look forward to seeing how that evolves for you, both on and off the pitch. So thank you again for your time, and we'll talk to you down the line. All right.
Cheers, Alan.
Thank you very much. Well, that's that for another week, folks, and I really hope you enjoyed this Real Talk with Jamie Clarke as much as I did. Make sure you don't miss out on any future episodes by heading over to realtalks.ie to subscribe to the show, or just search for Real Talks on whatever platform you are listening on today. There you can also find previous episodes with Tipperary's Brendan Marr, Dublin's Kevin McMenamin, and Wicklow's John McGrath. 3 fascinating characters who cover topics like leadership, resilience, and finding a balance between sport and life. If you want to get in touch, you can get me on Twitter at AOMTheCat or through at RealTalksIRL. Once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Kelly Bradshaw Dalton, for supporting and believing in the show. You can check out their website at kbd.ie for all your property needs, be that buying, selling, renting or managing property. My name is Alan O'Mara and you've been listening to an episode of the Real Talks podcast.